Have you ever wondered if that jacket you're wearing or that accessory you love might have a hidden meaning you never knew about? What if I told you that some of the most popular fashion trends throughout history weren't just about looking good, but were created to send secret messages or represent membership in exclusive groups? Today, we're going to explore 7 fashion trends that have surprising connections to secret societies and occult groups. What's fascinating isn't just the origins of these styles, but how they've been transformed from secret symbols into everyday fashion that millions of people wear without knowing their original significance. As Christians, we're called to be discerning about the world around us. Scripture reminds us in 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 21 to 22 to test everything, hold fast what is good, abstain from every form of evil. Understanding the origins and meanings behind the clothes and symbols we wear helps us make informed choices about our personal expression. Now, I'm not suggesting you need to throw away half your wardrobe after watching this video. What I am offering is insight into how fashion has been influenced by groups operating with hidden agendas throughout history. Some of these influences are subtle. Others might surprise you with how obvious they are once pointed out. I've spent years researching the intersection of fashion history, symbolism, and spiritual influences. What I've discovered shows how clothing has been used not just for utility or beauty, but as a powerful language to communicate beliefs and affiliations. So let's examine these 7 fashion trends, their occult origins, what they symbolized, and what Scripture teaches us about discernment in a world where not everything is as innocent as it appears. Let's begin with one of the most common accessories in modern fashion, the necktie. This seemingly innocent strip of fabric has a fascinating history connected to secret brotherhoods. The modern necktie evolved from the cravat, which gained popularity in Europe during the 17th century. What many don't realize is that the particular way these early neckties were tied and worn often indicated membership in various secret societies, particularly Masonic orders. In Freemasonry, symbolic clothing has always been important. The specific knots, colors, and ways of arranging neckwear became subtle indicators, allowing members to recognize each other in public without revealing their association to outsiders. The Masonic tie wasn't just an accessory, it was a coded message. Even more revealing is how the triangular shape of the modern tie points downward, creating what some researchers have identified as an inverted triangle that mimics certain occult symbols. When paired with the collar of a dress shirt, it creates geometric patterns that echo the compass and square imagery central to Masonic symbolism. What's particularly interesting from a biblical perspective is how this relates to Jesus' warning in Matthew 23:5 about the religious leaders of his day who do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. Jesus was criticizing those who used clothing and accessories as status symbols or to display false piety. Today, most people wear ties with no knowledge of these origins. The symbol has been divorced from its original meaning, but it serves as a reminder of how symbols can lose their power when their meaning is forgotten or transformed. What once might have been a secret identifier has become a universal symbol of formality and professionalism. This pattern of occult or secret symbols becoming mainstream fashion repeats throughout history, as we'll see with our next trend, the high heel. High-heeled shoes are now associated primarily with women's fashion, but they began as men's footwear with connections to some unexpected spiritual practices. The modern high heel traces back to 10th century Persian cavalry riders who used elevated heels to secure their feet in stirrups. However, when this style reached Europe in the late 16th century, it was quickly adopted by certain esoteric groups for its symbolic significance. Members of alchemical societies and certain occult orders in Renaissance Europe began wearing heeled shoes because the raised heel literally elevated the wearer above the earth. This physical elevation served as a symbol of spiritual elevation, the practitioner rising above the material world toward higher consciousness or spiritual realms. In certain rituals, this elevation had practical significance. Some occult practitioners believed that energy could be drawn up from the earth through the body, and the separation created by the heel served as a way to control this energy flow during ceremonial work. By the 17th century, high heels had become fashionable among European aristocracy, largely divorced from these esoteric beginnings. King Louis XIV of France was famously fond of red-heeled shoes, which became a status symbol at his court. What most courtiers didn't realize was that the red color had specific significance in certain alchemical practices, representing the final stage of the great work of transformation. From a biblical perspective, this fascination with elevation connects to the repeated warnings against pride. Proverbs 16:18 reminds us that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. The literal elevation of oneself through fashion parallels the spiritual danger of elevating oneself through pride. Today, high heels are worn primarily for aesthetic reasons, to elongate the leg and change posture. Few people wearing them are aware of their connection to ancient mystical practices or status symbols. Yet understanding these origins helps us see how something designed for spiritual significance can become merely decorative over time. Our third fashion trend with occult origins might be hanging in your closet right now: the hooded garment. Hooded clothing, whether robes, cloaks, or modern hoodies, has a complex history deeply intertwined with secret societies and spiritual practices. The hood itself serves both practical and symbolic functions that have made it central to various mystery traditions. The most obvious historical connection is to monastic orders, where hooded robes, called cowls, allowed for anonymity and signified separation from worldly concerns. However, this same feature made hooded garments attractive to numerous occult groups throughout history. From the 16th to 19th centuries, various secret societies adopted hooded robes for their rituals. The hood served multiple purposes. It concealed identity, created a sense of equality among members by hiding features of age or social status, and symbolically represented the movement from outer exoteric knowledge to inner esoteric wisdom. In certain Rosicrucian and Hermetic orders, the process of pulling a hood over one's head during initiation rituals symbolized the darkening of outer awareness to awaken inner sight. The hood created a private space for contemplation even within a group setting. The Bible speaks to covering the head in various contexts. In 1 Corinthians 11, Paul discusses head coverings in worship, though in a different context. More relevant is how Scripture often uses the imagery of uncovering or revealing what is hidden. As Jesus says in Luke 12:2, "Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known." Today's hooded garments, from high-fashion hooded dresses to everyday hoodies, have largely lost these esoteric connections. Yet the psychology remains. Wearing a hood still creates a sense of privacy, mystery, and separation from surroundings. The popularity of hooded clothing in counterculture movements suggests it retains some of its power as a symbol of alternative identity. This brings us to our fourth trend: ritualistic jewelry and its transformation into everyday accessories. Throughout history, various secret societies and occult groups have used specific jewelry items not just as decoration, but as tools for ritual, protection, or identification. Many of these have found their way into mainstream fashion. Consider the pendant necklace. In numerous magical traditions, pendants were created as talismans or amulets, objects believed to convey protection or power to the wearer. The specific materials, symbols, and even the timing of their creation were considered crucial to their effectiveness. During the Renaissance, groups like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and various alchemical societies created elaborate pendants featuring geometric designs, astrological symbols, or encoded text. These weren't just decorative, they were tools for meditation, focusing energy, or symbolizing one's progression through levels of esoteric knowledge. Rings have similar occult connections. Secret societies throughout history have used rings to denote membership or rank. The positioning of the ring, the hand it was worn on, and how it was turned all could convey messages to fellow initiates. Some rings contained hidden compartments for storing small amounts of substances used in rituals. From a biblical perspective, jewelry has always carried symbolic weight. In Exodus, detailed instructions are given for the ceremonial garments and accessories of the high priest, including specific gemstones. However, Scripture also warns against placing too much value on external adornments. As 1 Peter 3 verses 3-4 reminds us, true beauty comes not from external adorning, but from the hidden person of the heart. Today's fashion jewelry rarely acknowledges these esoteric origins. What was once charged with magical significance has largely become purely aesthetic. Yet occasionally, designers consciously revive these connections, creating modern pieces inspired by historical mystical symbols, often without understanding their original significance. Our fifth trend addresses one of fashion's most enduring obsessions: black clothing and its occult associations. The color black has complex cultural meanings, but its association with secret societies and esoteric practices is particularly strong. The tradition of wearing black for ceremonial purposes extends back to ancient mystery cults and continues through various occult revivals. In the late 19th century, occult groups like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn adopted black robes for certain rituals, particularly those involving symbolic death and rebirth. Black represented the void, the unknown, and the stage of transformation alchemists called nigredo, the blackening or decomposition necessary before new creation. This ceremonial use of black influenced fashion through figures like Madame Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society, whose distinctive black garments helped establish what became known as occult chic, a style later embraced by artists and intellectuals interested in mysticism. By the early 20th century, fashion designers like Paul Poiret and Coco Chanel, both known to have interests in esoteric spirituality, helped establish black as a color of sophistication rather than merely mourning. Chanel's famous little black dress transformed what had been a color associated with death, mystery, and occult ceremony into the epitome of modern elegance. Scripture offers interesting perspectives on colors and their meanings. While black isn't inherently negative in the Bible, darkness and light are powerful spiritual metaphors. As Paul writes in Ephesians 5:8-9, "For at one time you were darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of light is found in all that is good and right and true." Today, wearing black is rarely seen as a spiritual statement. However, certain subcultures continue to embrace black clothing, partly because of its historical associations with mystery, rebellion, and the esoteric. What began as ceremonial attire for accessing hidden knowledge has become a fashion staple, appreciated for its slimming effect and versatility. Our sixth trend explores how certain geometric patterns used in secret societies found their way into textile designs and fashion. Throughout history, occult groups have used specific geometric patterns as visual representations of cosmic principles. These weren't merely decorative, but were believed to embody mathematical relationships that revealed spiritual truths. The checkerboard pattern, alternating black and white squares, appears in Masonic lodge floors, where it represents duality: light and darkness, good and evil, material and spiritual. This same pattern later became a standard design element in fashion, appearing in everything from racing flags to mod 1960s dresses to contemporary streetwear. Interlocking triangles, like the hexagram shape, have been used in various mystical traditions to represent the union of opposites, often divine masculine and feminine principles. Similar geometric motifs appear regularly in fashion prints and jewelry designs, divorced from their original symbolic significance. Spirals and labyrinths, used in numerous mystery traditions as meditation tools or symbols of the spiritual journey, regularly appear in fashion as decorative elements. The ancient Greek key pattern, meander, associated with mystery cults of Dionysus, has become a standard decorative border in fashion from Versace to streetwear brands. From a biblical perspective, we're reminded in Colossians 2:8 to see to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. This cautions us against assigning spiritual power to symbols themselves, while still recognizing that visual elements can carry cultural meaning. Modern fashion uses these geometric patterns primarily for their visual appeal rather than their symbolic significance. Yet, occasionally, designers consciously revive these connections, creating collections that explicitly reference esoteric traditions. Sometimes as mere aesthetic inspiration, sometimes with deeper interest in their origins. Our final trend examines specific accessories that began as functional items in occult rituals before becoming fashion statements. Throughout history, various ceremonial tools have been repurposed as fashion accessories, often with their original purposes forgotten. One clear example is the pocket watch and chain. In certain 18th and 19th century occult societies, the pocket watch represented more than timekeeping. It symbolized the ordered universe and man's attempt to measure the infinite. The chain connecting watch to clothing represented the chain of being, the occult concept of interconnection between all levels of existence. The placement of the watch and the specific arrangement of the chain conveyed information to fellow initiates. Some ritual watches even contained hidden compartments for ceremonial substances or symbolic objects. Similarly, certain styles of buttons originated as more than fasteners. In some European secret societies, the specific number, arrangement, and design of buttons served as coded identification. Military-style buttons arranged in specific patterns were particularly significant, allowing members to recognize each other in public settings. Even seemingly innocent items like scarves and handkerchiefs were used in some traditions as ritual tools, with specific folding methods and wearing styles indicating one's rank or role in ceremonies. From a biblical perspective, this transformation of ritual objects into fashion reminds us of Isaiah 44, verses 9 to 20, which describes the irony of creating an idol from the same wood used for cooking and warmth. Human creations can serve different purposes depending on our intentions and understanding. Today, few people wearing pocket watches, military-style buttons, or carrying handkerchiefs are aware of these esoteric connections. Yet understanding these origins helps us see how objects can move between sacred and secular contexts, gaining and losing meaning in the process. As we've explored these 7 fashion trends with connections to occult and secret societies, a pattern emerges. Symbols and styles that once carried deep spiritual significance have been transformed into everyday fashion, largely divorced from their original meanings. From neckties and high heels to hooded garments, jewelry, black clothing, geometric patterns, and repurposed ritual accessories, fashion has repeatedly absorbed elements from hidden traditions and made them mainstream. In the process, these items usually lose their power as secret identifiers or spiritual tools. This transformation raises important questions for Christians about discernment and symbolism. Scripture teaches that objects themselves are neutral, as Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 8:4. We know that an idol has no real existence, and in Titus 1:15, to the pure all things are pure. Yet we're also called to be aware of the meanings and associations our choices may communicate. Understanding the history behind fashion trends doesn't mean we need to avoid them out of fear. Rather, it equips us with knowledge that allows for thoughtful choices about personal expression. As Romans 14:5 reminds us, each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. Perhaps the most significant insight from this exploration is recognizing fashion's power as a language, one that has communicated membership, beliefs, and values throughout history. By understanding this language better, we become more conscious of what we might be saying through our own clothing choices. The biblical principle of being in the world but not of the world, John 17:14-15, applies here. We can appreciate fashion's beauty, creativity, and artistry while maintaining awareness of deeper meanings and making choices aligned with our faith and values. So the next time you put on a tie, slip into heels, or pull up a hood, you might pause to consider the rich and complex history behind these everyday items. Fashion isn't just about looking good. It's a living museum of human beliefs, values, and traditions, continually transforming as meanings shift across time. Thank you for joining me in this fascinating journey through fashion history. May it inspire thoughtful consideration about the choices we make and the stories our clothing tells.